to the Entrepreneur Exchange on the Mesh Podcast Network, a monthly conversation about startups and small business with ideas, tools, and advice to operate your business more effectively. On today's show, what if you had a business that reduced waste and helped the environment? The Material Return in Morganton, North Carolina is working to create a circular textile economy, taking back textile waste and turning it into new products. Bob Carswell with the Material Return will join us as our guest. Also on today's show, the always exciting lightning round, and we'll also share some interesting small businesses that you should be checking out. My name is Jeff Newville. I'm your co-host, director of the Manufacturing Solutions Center in Conover, North Carolina. I'm joined by my co-host, Gary Muller, who is Executive Dean of Economic Development and Corporate Education at Catawba Valley Community College in Hickory, North Carolina. Gary, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's hot out there, though. But I guess there's maybe our last bit of really hot weather. You think?
I'm thinking we might, we're talking here in late August, right before Labor Day. I think, who knows what September might bring, these days, who knows what early October might bring. You never know.
That's true. That's true.
Hopefully we can avoid some of these 95-degree days.
Well, that's true. How do you feel about football season starting?
My Carolina Tar Heels squeaked one out over the University of Minnesota last night, so I'm
win's
happy
a win, and it was away, right?
It was. I'm hoping they can get us to basketball season.
There you go. I understand.
So that's my philosophy. And this is Wake Forest playing football this year?
We are playing this year, at least part of the year. We played last night and we won.
Oh, good.
A&T.
Well, good.
But we got Virginia and then Ole Miss, who's I think number 6 in the country the next 2 weeks. So.
Well, you also have a good coach. So
we do have a very good coach. So
we wish
I
wish
think
you
we'll
well.
be good, but I think the league's better than we are.
Well, I don't think our listeners tuned
really
in for
care,
ACC
right?
football update. So let's welcome our guest, Bob Carswell. Bob, how are you doing?
Doing great. How about y'all?
Doing good. We appreciate you joining us. And Bob is the Director of Research and Development for the Material Return in Morganton, North Carolina. He's got experience in electrical engineering, computer engineering, and who knows what else. And he is working to create a circular textile economy, trying to keep our clothes and textile products out of landfills. Bob, we appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all having me. You definitely have real good connections in the industry, so I was like, I better be on this guy's podcast.
People are just clamoring to be with us, Bob. So we're beating them off with a stick. So we appreciate you being with us. So the Material Return, it's a unique business. Tell our listeners sort of what the Material Return is doing.
Yeah, I think it's the easiest tagline. I don't know if it's on our website. If it is, I probably need to update it. But we are into custom circularity for textile waste. So, working with brands and both manufacturers, we try to transform their waste back into new raw materials for their supply chain. And that can be fiber fill, that can be non-wovens. But our main focus is really turning it back into that one-to-one, turning it back into yarn. I don't want to, there's already a whole budding industry of non-wovens. I don't need to get into that. We need to transform more back into something that can go right back on the factory floor it came from. So we work with both post-industrial and post-consumer waste, and that can be apparel, textiles for furniture, hosiery, anything you can think of on that kind of front, and transform it into yarn.
So I know a little bit about this. I think you know a lot more, but there's an awful lot of textile waste, apparel, whatnot, that ends up getting thrown away and clogging up landfills, and just bad use of how these products are made, and also I think we recognize that there's just often, because of the supply chain issues, too much of it gets made, and there's an excess glut that has to be gotten rid of as well. So what is that something that you guys are focused on, or as you do your work?
That is 100%. Yeah, I think we usually cite information off of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation website. They do a lot of research in circularity. I think it's like every American throws away 75 pounds of clothes a year or something like that. And
I'm in
well
that group.
over. Yeah, well, I mean, it's before us. There's really nothing else besides Goodwill. But Goodwill, they're not. You can't you can't return socks for resale. You can't return underwear if your clothes are too far gone. Especially like post-industrial waste. I mean, we're in the Carolinas. Somebody's making furniture or apparel or hosiery here, and there's going to be a byproduct coming from that. So you got to figure out something to do with it. But I think that was the main focus. And I could go ahead and start on a little bit of the backstory if you wanted me to.
Well, how did material return come to be, and how did you get involved with it?
That's 100%. I'll tell you just a little bit. I don't know how old I am. 38, I think 38.
You're a youngster.
We had you pegged at 36. You look really young.
Hey, that's the first. Everybody thinks I'm 40 something. I'm like, man, this industry. So I went straight from high school into a furniture factory to work as a upholstery fabric cutter. So I would do the cutting. We had a lot of patterns. We had flow matching on the front of sofas, really high-end furniture. And I noticed at that factory, I worked there for 15 years. I noticed at that factory, there was really nobody that would take any textile waste from us. So we were, putting that in the landfill. And like I said, after I'd started there and worked for 15 years, Molly and Sarah just randomly found me through Western Piedmont, where I taught some engineering classes. They found me working in a factory with like a tie-dye shirt and long hair, and they're like, "This guy seems like he knows what he's doing." So I did a little bit of work with them, kind of joined the Industrial Commons board, and Molly Hemstreet and Sarah Chester started the Industrial Commons, and they're like, you know a lot about, especially furniture textiles. What do you all do with that textile waste? And Molly was having the same issue at her factory called Opportunity Threads, which is a cut and sew. It's very difficult to get anything recycled. You had a mixed bag of all types of different fibers and colors coming through there, and they just weren't ideal for the market that's there for kind of non-woven textile recycling. So in 2019, we worked with Dan St. Louis, former director of MSC, and Molly Hemstreet, and then Gaston Textile Technology Center, NC State School for Textiles, and just did an audit to figure out what kind of waste was out there and how much was going into the landfill. And I don't want to say the numbers, but it was it's impossible to get a lot of different things recycled through domestically. You can go into the downcycled but not upcycled region. So in downcycling, most of it was going into automotive insulation, the non-woven door panel pads, appliances, and things like that. But we really wanted to create, something that would actually go back into the same product that, originally. You don't want to downgrade those fibers because some of them are really high quality, like the cottons and the wools and polyesters and things like that. So we started out by doing an audit, doing a lot of research to figure out how to set up. More or less, we were kind of a glorified textile trash service for a long time. For a good 2 years, we would pick up all the textile waste from every factory we talked to and aggregate that and put it down in downcycling for non-wovens. But we kind of worked with Industrial Commons, and they helped us get a few grants to secure some carding equipment, and then worked with a couple of spinning partners to start spinning yarn, and we're kind of off to the races now. So
the challenges of creating circularity in textiles. I know one of the big things is sorting, just because when you get textile waste, it might be cotton, or it might be some sort of polyester. It can be all sorts of things. I mean, what are the sort of challenges that you run into as you're trying to sort through? No pun intended. The various waste that you get, and just the overall issue of circularity. Because I have to also think that. If I'm a manufacturer of certain products and you're telling me, oh no, we're going to reuse some of this stuff or whatnot, there are certain manufacturers that might not be so supportive of circularity just for their own economic reasons.
Yeah, 100%. I think sorting is one of the most difficult parts, and it's mainly the most difficult part for post-consumer. So stuff coming back from thrift stores like the Goodwills and stuff like that in America. I mean, that is a mixed bag of every fiber type and color known to man. Post-industrial side, you've got a weaving machine. This machine runs a lot of polyester, or you've got a knit, hosiery machine, which is going to be a lot of knot. So in post-industrial, it's not as difficult. It's still not perfect. But on the post-consumer side, that's why we have kind of a volume limit on folks we work with, because it's as depending on what it is and how hard it is to deconstruct as well, with buttons and zippers and packaging. Sometimes with retail returns, it can get to where I don't have enough manual labor to do that. But with this whole engine work that we're doing with y'all and the TTC and NC State, that's kind of one of the main focus points, because that's going to be the bottleneck. The textile equipment, that's all not easy to get, but it's all, much simpler to set up that kind of infrastructure for textile production here in the Carolinas. But that sorting, we got to have it. But right now, we're dealing with it with manual labor and very fast processing, as fast as you can go, and simple kind of minimum viable product. So if I know these socks all have Smart Roll written on them, they got wool in them, so they're going in one bin, and everything else, if it's Nike or whatever, whoever it is, they're going into different bins,
Well, so you mentioned Smart Wool, and I know that that's been a pretty successful and I guess a model program of what you're trying to accomplish. Can you talk a little bit about the work that you're doing with the Smart Wool sock brand?
Absolutely. So I think this was another one of those connections with Dan St. Louis. He's known the Smart Wool folks, and Rodney has as well, for years. And they were looking, their I guess it was vice president at the time, Ann Wiper. She actually had this vision early before we even started talking with them. She threw some Smart Wool socks into a Cuisinart blender or grinder, I guess food processor, ground it up, and then realized, I was like, oh, this is still really a decent fiber for spinning. So she had this vision, and then Dan St. Louis connected the Smart Wool team with us, and and we kind of just made that scaled up a little bit. We just got a big Cuisinart or some partners with that. But we launched in 2020 with a second cut project, and the second cut project was a kind of a 2 or 3 stages. At first, it was how to work out the logistics of getting post-consumer socks back to North Carolina to be broken down and respun, knowing that we didn't have that development done yet. But Smartwool is like one of those perfect partners. They make really high quality, durable products made in the U.S. They have a tight supply chain with good, really good allies in the industry, and they've stuck through with us since the start, when we didn't know how to make this yarn made from socks. And they have a team with really good knowledge and textile circularity now, especially. But even before that, they had a really good team. But we started out with this take back program. I think we collected around 1 million pairs of socks the first year on the launch.
And these are coming back from consumers that have bought socks and have a process for shipping them, mailing them back to you. Is that how it works?
Yes, absolutely. So Smartwool set up the entire process for getting it to our dock. So as these socks come in, you can do it direct to consumer online. So if you order a pair of socks, you get a free prepaid bag. It comes to your house. You fill it with socks, and this is any brand of socks. It does not have to be Smartwool. So it's anything. So we get all types of different socks that are coming in.
And these are probably worn and nasty?
They can be. The directions of Smartwool, I told him, is they'd be really nice if these socks were washed.
Yeah, Gary. Gary's got some foot issues that we won't get into.
My wife would be very happy.
Yeah. Give her a bag and she'll get rid of all your socks. Exactly. Not to mention your underwear. But go ahead, Bob.
Yeah. So we got those post consumers, and there's some good instructions with a little QR code on the bag. It tells you, say, hey, these, let's wash these before you send them back to material return. We've got some process in between that, definitely sterilizes everything, but it does smell like a foot sometimes in the plant. If we get a mess, it's not as bad as you think. And then they also did like a retail drop spot too. So if you go into REIs and other outdoor retail stores, there would be a bin set up with the Smartwool logo and the instructions, and we get 60,000 pounds coming from retail stores where people were actually like participating in this program, which I think that was the biggest learning for like Smartwell and us is like people want to do this. They don't want to throw their socks in the trash. That's why Goodwill, has had millions of pounds of clothes kept out of the landfill because people don't want to throw this away. So we did that, and then and during the pandemic, it was crazy. They were like, "Let's make a product right now just to announce this." So we kind of worked with them and a bunch of the Carolina Textile District partners to make a dog bed filled with these sock fibers that were coming back in from consumers. So within 6 months, I think we turned around, made a good small sample supply of those, and they sold them on the website within 6 months during the pandemic. It was stressful as heck, but we got it done. And that kind of proved the point that, a national take back project could work on post-consumer materials. So, and now we're making a lot of yarn. It took a lot of development, probably about 3 years of good, optimization work. And, but we've got a lot of different yarns in their products going out to, even to wholesale to retail stores now.
So you're actually, I think, you're with the help of some of your partners, you're actually making some products and selling them on your website, or are they for sale?
Usually we're kind of B2B more. So we ship out the yarns to the sock knitters that Smartwell has, or we've even had work in the furniture industry making fabrics. We've had work with some circular knitters to make fabrics as well, and working with almost any fiber type. Usually we're mostly B2B, but I wouldn't mind being able to sell a few things direct on the website, but we're only like 7 guys on a plant floor. So I don't know if I can learn how to run a knitter.
I've seen some beanies. I've seen some socks out there that I know are made with your yarn.
Yes. We usually try to make those. We do get some grant funding.
Socks? Yours are toxic. We're not using your socks.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Sure, Bob can make sure.
There's a different
they
box.
all work
There's
out
a different
fine.
box for those, Gary.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, those are the ones
trash.
we burn for fuel. No, but we've made some small sample runs, just to prove the point and have stuff on hand to show people. It's like, hey, this actually works, because when we first started in 2019, there was a lot of doubt in the industry with manufacturers and everything that you can make a recycled yarn that had equivalent specs and performance to a virgin component going into it. So that's why we got the samples on hand. We're not trying to sell socks. We're trying to make yarn for people to make whatever product they need to.
So at this point in time, you're basically, number one, trying to make sure that you've got textile waste coming in the door. And number two, you got to find a place to, as you're creating yarn or whatnot, you've got to find a place. You have to find a market for that. I mean, so are those both sources of revenue for you? And what are the challenges on both ends of this production cycle for you?
Yeah, I think that's a perfect question. So I think one of the things we realized early on is that we, starting this recycling kind of pickup or collection and aggregation sorting service, that was going to have to be like a fee for service for us, because without a huge market in the first place to use all these fibers, I mean, we collect and aggregate over close to 1 million pounds a year in our facility, and we're not making that much yarn yet. And that's mainly because of infrastructure issues. Like, we get a lot more recycled, textiles than we could make yarn for right now. But that's something, you have to build out the infrastructure. And that's one of the challenges is there's nobody really 100% set up for this. We're kind of making do with the textile equipment that's here with partners and things like that. But there needs to be some, kind of investment in some real infrastructure on that side. And then same thing with we've got plenty of materials, Jeff, and we've got post-industrial, we've got post-consumer, thousands, millions of socks, but they have to be sorted, in that first place. So it's kind of a few bottlenecks, but we're working on that. But right now I think we've developed probably about 120 different yarns, and it can be different fiber blends, it can be different counts, different twisted, non-twisted, all those things like that. So we've got a lot of products to offer with the feedstock that we have, but there's nothing saying any product that comes in, we'll figure out how to make something out of it.
So you're talking about infrastructure. You're talking about bottlenecks. How when you look at scaling the operation, what are the steps that are out there in the future that you need to take? It sounds like it's a pretty labor intensive process right now, and I'm thinking there's probably some equipment that might assist you as you grow. So what's your thoughts on scaling? How does someone go about scaling this type of operation?
Heck yeah. So the first thing, I think our aggregation side's pretty well. It can handle what we've got. What we've got coming in right now. It'll have to scale up, but on the actual fully upcycled yarn production side, we've got carding and opening line right now. And I think our next investment in 2025 is probably going to be some ring spinning for creating a little bit longer staple yarns out of these recycled fibers. That ring spinning will be 2025, and then we'll probably have to get a lot of testing equipment, fiber analysis, we'll have to do strength testing, evenness testers, anything you can think of to make sure we make a yarn and not give recycled products a bad name in the U.S. So that's what we're working on to scale on the kind of yarn production side made out of recycled fibers. And then I'm thinking hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years, we'll have something worked out with either a partner or something with this kind of engine project to have some, automated sorting in the U.S. because that's kind of key. You got to make sure your feedstock's a good quality sorted material before you can make really high quality yarns out of recycled goods.
Now, it seems like Europe is further ahead of us being the United States, in terms of requirements they're putting on many apparel manufacturers and using recycled materials and documenting it. Is that sort of pulling you along, or how does that have any effect on you?
That's 100%. So we actually, with this kind of engine group, we took a good team that's been working on circularity for a while over to talk to the folks in Italy, because they've been recycling since World War One. So they've been doing a lot of wool recycling, and they know a lot about the EU policy. And usually, anything that happens in the EU will transfer over to California first and then spread across to the US. And I think brands have already kind of seen this coming, so they want to get ahead of it and have their supply chains worked out for how to get their goods recycled and made back into new products. So that is like number one. I mean, hey, I'm pushing for it because we can't just keep doing linear manufacturing forever. We got a limited supply of raw materials and with polymers and all these things like this. So I'm happy to join in any conversation about policy, and I think the engine's really doing a lot of work on that as well.
And how is this received by you? You talk about brands, and I think when we talk about brands, you're talking about major apparel brands, maybe retailers. I don't know, but that are driving this. I mean, are they on board? Are they hesitant? What sort of reception have you gotten from the various brands?
I think a lot of brands already have a circularity kind of initiative in process. Some are further along than others. Some of the brands we've talked to it's at the top of their list. And one thing that's really nice, starting material return and being involved with MSC and NC State and all these folks that are really in the industry, y'all's word of mouth has really put it out there into the world that I don't even need a marketing budget for people to find us. Folks are reaching out because there's not a lot in the U.S. There's a few other groups that are doing some stuff like we are, but here based in the Carolinas already has equipment to do some processing. Most of the brands we talk to have some type of circularity initiative though. Some don't, but they'll have to one day, I'm sure.
Well, and I guess there's a concept out there called was it greensplaining, or some people might be exaggerating claims. I mean, it's great that people have that are involved, but probably some are more involved than others.
Yes, yeah, we've definitely we've seen some greenwashing, and we just had a really good panel on at Tech Steel with the Shane O'Toole and Sean Su from Cirque, and we were talking about that, like. A lot of brands, it's so difficult for brands to come out good sometimes on that greenwashing you're kind of talking about, Jeff. Like, if you do anything, then somebody points out the thousands of other mistakes you make. But if we're doing, and what we can't get people, it's like, if we're doing anything at all, it's better than doing nothing. And, even if seems like greenwashing, it's like, it's still better than just not doing anything at all. So, a lot of times, most of our yarns that we make are usually a blend of recycled fiber content, and we try to shoot for 50% recycled content, and the other 50 some type of virgin carrier fiber, whatever that is, cotton, poly, wool, and some of the brands, or clients we work with, hey, can't you get to 100%, recycled content? It's like, we can, but this is that good product that's going to perform and make it in the industry. It's like, and some folks won't work unless it's 100%. And it's like, that's just the kind of the nature of the beast right now. It will one day, but right now we've got to get something in the works. Otherwise it's still going to go in the landfill. Right.
Yeah. Well, as we sort of wind down, as you sort of been living this for the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, for folks that might be listening that are going through the pains of getting a business operating and off the ground, any advice or lessons that you can share with them?
I think for the folks trying to start something like this, it's tough. It's definitely tough. But I think it's like, man, especially as small as the textile and the furniture industry is in the U.S., this kind of domestic, we all have to work together in this. And I think we are now, especially with all the past 10 years with MSC and NC State and TTC. We're just all working together. You're seeing direct competitors in the textile business working together now on projects, which I like to see. Being I think Carolina Textile District is like being big by being small together. It feels you don't have to put so much investment into vertically integrating everything if you just work with these partners. And then for brands and manufacturers trying to work on circularity for their products and things like that. When you're really thinking about how like those products are designed, like with like in the end of life in mind, like if you design a product from the start with like, I don't care what it does at the end. It's made out of all polymers and it's just unrecyclable and it is non-biodegradable. It's like, start thinking with that design first. The design is the most important part, because what you're designing now, I'm going to have to deal with it in another 10 years whenever it comes back, and like, hey, can't you recycle this? Like, no, this wasn't designed in a way that's recyclable with our methods. So
I would think also that your business is pretty capital intensive when you think about the equipment that you need, which would pose challenges for startups. I mean, I know that you work with the industrial commons and have successfully secured grants and whatnot, but it's probably an expensive type of business to get into.
100%. I think starting in textiles, there isn't a single piece of the process that is under $1 million in any part of that, whether that's spinning, carding, garnetting, whatever it is. And as a small startup, and Industrial Commons has incubated us at the start with the end goal for material return to be employee owned. So having a way to keep that wealth like rooted locally in our community here. So none of us that are here are going to ever sell our business because we're part owners of it. So that really helps out, not having to worry about retaining, the people working for you. We're all owners. We're all like in this for 100% right now. So we want to make this work. So if you got to have a good team for a startup like this, and you got to have good support from, folks at the Industrial Commons, and then plus all the awesome philanthropic and federal, funders that we have. We definitely couldn't have done it without it.
Super. Well, we really appreciate you spending some time with us and sharing the material return story, because it's just a pretty unique operation.
It really is.
So, but we also since you're with us, Bob, we'd like to we invite you to take part in our lightning round. You up for that?
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, this month's lightning round is is sponsored by Globo Gym. Do you need to lose some weight and get in shape? Well, go to someone else's gym. But if you already look good, come to Globo Gym. You should check them out on the internet. Anyway, Bob, we got some quick questions. Don't overthink it. Just quick questions, quick answers. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's your favorite vacation spot?
Oh, man. There's a really good spot down in Florida called Anna Maria Island, right on the side of Tampa Bay, and the other side is the Gulf. It's perfect. Beautiful. There's nothing there. It's awesome.
Well, we're going to have a lot of people there now that you've shared it on the Entrepreneur Exchange. So, it's going to be overrun. But anyway, next question. Beatles, Rolling Stones, or Taylor Swift on your playlist?
Oh, man. I'm thinking Beatles. I'm thinking the Beatles.
Okay. I mean, you can't go wrong with any of them.
No.
So anyway, would people characterize you as sweet, salty, or sour?
Probably sour.
I don't know. He seems pretty sweet to me, don't you think?
A good guy.
All right.
I can fake it pretty well, Jeff.
All right. Is it okay to wear socks with sandals?
Oh my gosh, I never wear sandals, so probably not. I gotta wear socks. I'm too old. I gotta wear tennis shoes now.
All right. If you were an Olympic athlete, what sport would you compete in?
It's something where you pick up heavy things and throw them. I don't know. Shot put, is that it?
Shot put?
Yeah,
Right.
shot put. Yeah,
Right.
I'm good at that.
All right. Last question for you. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Teleportation. I never want to drive again.
Okay. Would you prefer teleportation or the ability just to fly?
Probably teleportation because it takes no time out of it.
Hey,
You're
you're
there.
not going to run into anything that way, so that's all good. All right. Well, we appreciate it, Bob. If our listeners want to find out more about the material return, where should they be looking? Where can they find you and the material return?
So our website is thematerialreturn.com. So you can visit that. It's got a couple of good videos, a lot of process and how to get in touch with us. And then, check out the LinkedIn and the Instagram for material return as well. There's always cool little videos of awesome projects we're doing on those. So, and you can reach me. I think my email's on the website, unfortunately.
So it's thematerialreturn.com with the in front of material return. So should everyone check them out because they're doing some really cool stuff. So
Awesome.
we always like to wind up with sharing some small businesses that we've come across. Bob, you got anything you want to give a shout out to?
Absolutely. I think there's a really good partner. We've been not partnered. They're just awesome little business in Hildebrand called the Recycling Group. And we recycle textiles, but there's always byproduct that we kind of collect from our clients like plastics and cans and cardboard. They've just been with us since the start. They've been recycling everything we can't recycle through our process. A good little business.
Okay.
Good for them.
Yep.
Gary, what are you going to give a shout out to today?
I'm going to give a shout out to a business I haven't been to, but I've heard several people bring it up to me that it's a family-owned business. Actually, it's not a new business. It's from the 1950s. It's the Knob Creek Farms and Creamery. Have you ever heard of them? Either of you? They're on the Lincoln and Cleveland County borders, and they started as an apple and peach farm and have broadened out over the years. It's many generations. The crops started way back in the 1950s, but now the son and grandsons and their wives are running the business. And of course, when I heard homemade ice cream, I knew that I needed to bring that up. But I heard lots of really good things about it. So if you're traveling in that area, it'd be a great place to stop by.
Well, I'm pro ice cream.
Good deal.
That sounds good. Knob Creek Farms and Creamery.
Right.
Okay. Well,
And that's basically the email address.
Okay.
At Gmail.
So anyway, we got a email from one of our listeners with a small business that I will share this month. This is from Pete in Broomfield, Colorado. And I'm reading verbatim from his email right here. It says, I was listening to your fabulous podcast and your host, Larry, I think he means you. He said Larry, but I think he means Gary, mentioned New York City's bounty of small entrepreneurial businesses, which you were talking about last time.
Right.
So Pete wanted us to give a shout out to a small business called Economy Candy And he says Economy Candy is New York City's oldest retail candy store, located at 108 Rivington Street
I need that address.
in the Lower East Side. It was established in 1937, originally started as a shoe and hat repair shop with a candy cart outside. During the Great Depression, the candy cart became more popular than the shoe repair business, leading to the transformation into a full-fledged candy store. We call that pivoting in the business, don't we?
exactly
That is.
We call that pivoting. The store is now run by the third generation of the Cohen family, with Mitchell and his wife Sky at the helm. Economy Candy offers a wide variety of sweets, including chocolates, gummies, dried fruits, nuts, and nostalgia candy that are hard to find elsewhere. I'm not sure what nostalgia candy is.
It's old.
Old candy? Sort of like that needs to be recycled, no doubt.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah. Words out of my mouth.
The shop is known for its extensive selection and charming old school atmosphere, making it a beloved destination for both locals and tourists. They also ship nationwide. So, and you can check them out at economycandy.com. So,
Very cool.
we appreciate Pete from Colorado sending that in. We're going to have
Glad he
to.
listened to my review of my trip to see my daughter in New York City.
Well, we're going to have to pull together a prize pack for Pete, and we encourage
I've got
listeners.
some old candy and socks.
Okay, they better be washed. If you have a suggestion for the Entrepreneur Exchange Small Business of the Month, you can email them to us at eexchange@themesh.tv, and if we use yours, we'll pull together one of our prize packs, and we promise it's not going to be Gary's old socks. We'll make
No, I
sure that
wouldn't.
that's not what it's going
I'm
to be.
still wearing them.
All right. Okay. Wait till they get big holes, Gary.
That's right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Bob, we want to thank you
Bob.
for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And
Yeah.
we want to give our thanks to the Mesh Podcast Network. You can check out all the cool podcasts going on at the Mesh at themesh.tv online and subscribe to their podcast, which you'll find on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the usual platforms. And we'll look forward to talking to everybody again next month.
Take care, everybody. Stay warm or cool, depending on what part of the country you're in.
Absolutely. Thank y'all.
Take care. Good to see you.